Hi everyone, welcome to this video tutorial on simple linear equations. You are highly welcome to Prince D TV. I am your instructor Prince Daniel and I will be guiding you through this lesson. So first, let's talk about a simple linear equation. A simple linear equation, of course, it is an equation in which the highest power of the variable is just 1. In other words, it is an equation that can be written in the form of ax plus b equal c. And of course, a, b, and c are just constants. They can be both positive and negative, and they can also be fractions. Alright, so without wasting much of your time, we'll just dive into examples straight away. So we'll be looking at our first example. We have example 1. So with us here we have example 1. So example 1, we have 2x plus 3 equals 7. So that's a simple linear equation that we have there, which is our first example. So how can we solve this? So we made mention that a simple linear equation simply is that equation whereby its variable has its highest power is 1. Where is our variable? Our variable in this equation is x, and x here, its power is simply 1. So remember, anything raised to the power 1, it simply remains the same. So what do we mean? 1 raised to the power 1 is the same as 1. 2 raised to the power 1 is the same as 2. 3 raised to the power 1 is the same as 3. 20 raised to the power 1 is the same as 20. So it remains the same. Same here, x, so the highest power is 1. So no need for us to put the 1 because it simply remains the same. Are we there? Alright. So that's why we mentioned earlier the highest power is just 1. Or we said again, it is in the form of ax plus b equals c. So you notice now that the two equations are the same, where a, b, and c, our a, b, and c are 2, 3, and 7, and we said they are constants. Okay, all right. Now these are very important steps I'm highlighting. So now when you have a simple linear equation like this, there are things that you have to note. When the constant is positive, what do you need to do? Remember, when your constant is positive, you subtract that constant on both sides of the equation. So when it is positive, you subtract the constant on both sides of the equation. So you have to note, look at your constant that is there. Okay, so remember, a, b, and c are constants. Which constant do you subtract on both sides of the equation? Remember, look at where our variable is found. So the constant we focus on is 3. Why? Somebody might ask me, why not 7? Or why not 2? Now the reason is simply because we are focusing on our variable. When they ask you to solve a linear equation, your aim is to solve for your variable, either x or y or anything. I'll come back to x. Most people usually ask, why are they using x? I'll give you a slight idea. Now our focus is to make x to be on one side of the equation. X must be equal to something. So that's the reason. We cannot be coming to maybe subtract 7 from 7 here. No, because we simply want to isolate x on one side of the equation. So here we have 2x plus 3. So this is the constant we focus on. So we said when the constant here beside the variable, we subtract it because it is positive. So we subtract minus 3 is equal to 7. We subtract that same constant there. Remember, when it is positive, we subtract 3. And we have 2x. 3 minus 3 is 0. So nothing is there. We have our equal sign. 7 minus 3 is 4. So in this case, you notice now that we have 2x equal 4. Okay, we now have 2x equal 4. 2x equal 4. Now remember, our x is still attached to 2. I told you our focus is to isolate x. So our main aim is to have x must be equal to something. X should be alone on one side. So what do? This is multiplication. So when there is multiplication, the constant that is closely attached to your variable, in this case our variable is x, what do? We divide. So when it is multiplication, we divide. Remember 2x, so we divide all through both sides by the constant that is being multiplied to our variable. Our constant is 2 that is being multiplied, so we divide all through by the 2. So when we divide all through by the 2, 2x equal 4, we have 2. What do you notice? Remember, our goal is to isolate x on one side of the equation. This 2 can cancel with this 2 and x is left alone. 4 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we now have x equal 2 and we are done. X should be alone on one side. So that's just the simple meaning of simple linear equations. Alright, now we'll take another example. Remember, this example, the constant is positive. The constant here is positive. So let's look at another example whereby the other constant is negative. What do? Okay, so we now have a second example, example 2. So we see how we isolate our x on one side. So we now have example 2. Example 2, we have alright, example 2, we have x minus 2 equal 5. Now, if you notice this, our constant here is no longer positive. Here we have a positive constant. Why are we not talking about this constant here? Here it is alone. We are focusing on the constants that are associated with our variable. Remember, I told you our variable needs to be x equal to something. So now when the constant attached or closely associated to our variable, what do? When it is positive, I told you, we subtract it on both sides. When it is negative, it's just the opposite. We add it on both sides because we are eliminating. So here our constant here we're talking about is minus 2, right? It's 2. So we now have x minus 2. Because this constant is negative, so we add it, the opposite of it, that same constant, and we have 5. What do? We add it plus 2. So we now have x minus 2 plus 2. Remember our number line. Minus 2 plus 2 is the same as 2 minus 2, which is 0. If you want to confirm it, check your number line. Minus 2 plus 2 is 0. And we have equal 5 plus 2, 7. What do you notice? This x, nothing is being multiplied. Remember, this x is the same as 1x. I told you when something is 1, it remains the same. So that's why we have x is equal to x. So it's just 1x. So 1 dividing all through by 1 is the same thing. Alright, so we have x equal 7. So if somebody say it's 1x, that is there. If you like, you put it like this. Then what do? With the 1, we divide all through by the 1, right? You cancel. we still come to the same thing. We have x equals 7 divided by 1 is 7. Still the same stuff. So that's it for simple linear equations. Practice problems. Now it's your turn to practice problems. So try as much as possible to solve the following simple linear equations on your own. Now, practice problems. Practice problems. Thank you, and that's all for this video tutorial on simple linear equations. I do hope that now you have a better understanding on how to solve simple linear equations. Always remember that you have to isolate your variable on one side of the equation, and of course you have to check the solutions by plugging them into the original equations. Thank you so much for being part of this episode and lesson. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, and of course do as well to subscribe to our channel and our page to make sure that you are updated with our latest math tutorials and of course other educational contents. As usual, I remain your boy Prince D. Much love and God bless.